going on, guys? Tommy with the Boakley Group. I'm sitting with Mandisa with PadSplit and Fritzy with the Investors Forum, Las Vegas Investor Forum. Correct?
Real Estate Investor
Investor Forum.
Yes.
Fritzy with the Real Estate Investor Forum. Hey, that's okay. I like that intro. That's fine. That works. So we're going to be talking about PadSplit today. And so we wanted to bring these two veterans in that have been dealing with this and have some clients that have already, utilizing PadSplit in Vegas. So let's just get right into it and find out. So, what is PadSplit? Let's just give a quick, brief overview of what PadSplit is.
Okay, great. So PadSplit is a co-living startup. So it's a way to make multifamily returns inside of a single-family asset.
Okay, so multifamily inside of single family.
Yes. So you're taking a single-family home that you typically probably wouldn't look at, and you're able to create and cash flow 2 to 3 times more than you would with a standard or traditional rental. You're taking the underutilized space, like a dining room, living room, den, and you're turning that into bedrooms, and then PadSplit, the company, is filling those rooms with our members.
Wow, so you're able to take a property and literally make it cash flow 2 to 3 times more than it would if it was just a normal long-term rental?
Absolutely. Yes. We have people doing it all the time. So most of our homes have about up to 14 bedrooms, but we're going to keep it 7 to 10 out here in Vegas, I'm hoping.
Wow, 7 to 10. That's a lot of people in one house, though.
It is.
Okay. So how long has PadSplit been in the Vegas market?
So we were actually brought here by Fritzy's anchor investor a year and a couple months ago. So we officially hit our year mark back in June, and we are over 200 units. So that's exciting. It makes us a true core market.
Awesome. So Fritz, let's talk about that. She said you have an investor that brought it to Vegas. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yes, he's one of the largest flippers in town, and he also does single family. He does a lot of investing in real estate overall. So he has his eye on the ball, and this was something that was presented at a conference to him, the PadSplit idea. And he jumped in right away. He was like, I'm bringing this to his core market, which was Las Vegas. And I fell in love instantly. The second he told me about it, I was like, wow, this is great. And timing was amazing. So the rates were changing. The market was changing. People that were flipping houses were potentially going to be able to get stuck with houses. In his case, he saw it differently. He saw it as an opportunity, but it also, I believe, in our market helped a lot of investors that might have had properties that they would have flipped and couldn't. They had to put it into the rental space, so they made it a single family, multifamily within the single family, and actually recoup some losses that they could have had. But my investor is very intuitive with our market and with the real estate industry as a whole. So I believe he scored a gold mine, and there's still lots more growth there.
Awesome. So you said that it saved them from potentially having losses on a flip to be able to turn it into a rental property basically here. So tell me a little bit more about that specifically. Like, how did it help them from potentially losing money on a flip? They couldn't flip it, or there was not enough profit margin there? What was the reasoning to go from just a standard fix and flip to let's actually turn this into a cash flow, type of property?
Well, I believe that the way that, they were looking at it was, could you flip it and just have a smaller return on investment? Yes, possibly. But when PadSplit was an opportunity and he was able to bring it to this market, he thought, then I'm just going to go down this path, and he went all in. Mandisa can probably go over some of the numbers of how many properties he has out here, but he went all in. He decided it was an opportunity rather than, he could have probably still flipped it and made less than he initially intended because things weren't moving as quickly. Properties weren't selling as quickly. The market kind of stalled when the rates, just went up really fast. So he looked at it and said, I'm going to go ahead and, take this and run with it and make more money on the property than I would have as a rental.
Awesome. So yeah, let's hear some numbers. I would love to hear about so this investor she's talking about specifically, okay. How many PadSplits does he have? How many, how did that get started and what does it look like?
So he had, when I started back in June, he was putting on 3 properties. He's now moved up to 9 properties here in Las Vegas. He's telling me that he's cash flowing between $1,500 to about $3,500 net after all expenses from all of these properties. And then he also has some back in Florida, I believe Gainesville it is. But here in Vegas, he just put on 3 other units. 3 other homes, and 2 of them are already filling, and it was just put on like August 25th, and we're almost to the finish line with his houses. So that's really exciting. It just shows we're growing immensely here.
So you're telling me you put it on the platform August 25th. Today's September 1st. So this is literally a week in, and it's already getting rooms rented.
Oh, absolutely. So we just did an open house at one yesterday, or I shouldn't say open house, a PadSplit open, I guess.
Okay.
And we did one yesterday, and it's a 6-bedroom. 2 of the rooms have already been booked. And his other homes, 3 of the rooms have been booked, and I think there's 9 in that one. And we had our biggest month yet. We just turned 5 years old as a company. And here in Vegas, we had our biggest month of bookings. I think we had over 100 and something bookings in this month alone.
So PadSplit's been around for 5 years. How long has
Yes.
it been in the Vegas market?
For 1 year.
It's been a whole year now.
Mm-hmm. It's been a whole year. We're a real market
Hey,
now.
congrats. That's awesome.
Thank
That's really
you.
cool to hear. So now there's proof. There's actually, people that have used this. There's some concepts. It's not just, visually hoping that this works in Vegas. It's obviously working in Vegas right now. Now, you mentioned earlier, and with his houses, he has how many rooms in this newest one?
So he put on 3 houses, so between 9 and 6 rooms.
Okay, so a smaller one has 6 rooms.
Yes.
The most that he has in one would be 9 rooms in one house.
Yes.
What was that house? Let's talk about that 9-room house. How many bedrooms was that house originally?
So that's going to be a Fritzy question because you know a little bit more about that asset. Those ones.
I believe, and I may be quoting the wrong property, but typically they're 4 bedrooms, 3 to 4 bedrooms with 2 baths. I would say that was the average that he was looking for initially. So I don't remember, honestly, that particular property specifically, but that's usually what he goes for. And I think that even within this year of him looking at the platform and learning how it's working in this valley, that he changed some things too. So initially there might have been like actually putting a restroom in or looking for other ways to add things that may be permittable, things that you need to work with the county, to kind of changing the concept a little bit. And now instead of leaving a master bath for just the one master bedroom, he's opened that up. So I think that allowed him to actually do more rooms, which is how he ended up at 9 rooms, where now you can there's 2 restrooms that are available for the guests and the members instead of 1 restroom, and you charge a little more for that master. So it actually gave him more opportunity to spread out more, which is what he was able to do with the 9 bedrooms on that property.
Okay, so with 9 bedrooms, is there a minimum bathroom amount that needs to be in the house?
There is, and I love this question because the PadSplit guidelines say 4 to 1. But as we grow here in Las Vegas, you want to really think what's going to make someone move into my house versus Fritzy's house or your house, right? So I think a 3 to 1 ratio works a lot better. And so we're trying to push investors into that direction. But there are going to be some assets where you can't just put in another bathroom, or it doesn't have one, it's not cost effective. So the true ratio is 4 to 1. But I would prefer everyone that I'm working with to do 3 to 1.
Got it. So you could go 4 to 1. So
Yes.
8 bedrooms, 2 baths is fine. But I could only imagine having 8 people in a house all needing to go to work at the same time, and them trying to figure out how do I get in the shower and get ready and all that type of stuff. So yeah, totally understandable to have more bathrooms if possible.
Exactly.
Now, for them to build these other rooms, you said that they're taking up all the different empty space. So what kind of community space needs to be in the house? Because it sounds like you're turning the dining room, the living room, the family room, any space that's available in the house and making that into a bedroom. What space is required to stay in the house? Obviously there's a kitchen, laundry room, stuff like that.
Yeah, you hit it on the head. That's literally all the space that I want. At PadSplit, we like to say bad things happen on couches. So I don't want any common areas where your best friend who's just coming into town for a day can come and, hang out. I don't want a sitting area with a TV where, somebody can monopolize that area when everybody's paying an amount for the same experience. So outside of the kitchen, the garage, if you don't convert it, and the laundry rooms, there's really no common space in a PadSplit.
That makes complete sense too. I mean, obviously you don't want one person that's utilizing the common space more than everyone else, and everyone's like, hey, why does this guy have his friends over there? So that brings me to a good question: is are they allowed to bring friends into the house during the day? Are they allowed to bring people in to hang out? Like, what does that regulation look like?
So PadSplit does have rules, and PadSplit was around during COVID, and so a lot of those rules still stick. There is no guests due to the nature of co-living, and just because, if there's extra people in the house, we can't scream our motto, safe, clean, and affordable. So I can't background check your guests, so I really don't want them in the house. So there's no guests, there's no children, there's no pets outside of emotional or service animals.
Okay. So how does that regulate? Like, how do you know if they bring friends into the house?
That's a great question. So in a PadSplit, as you would have 7 different people in that house, and each of those people is ready to tell on you, because if we can't pinpoint who's breaking the rule, everybody in our eyes is breaking the rule, and then at that point, everybody is then fined or they receive some sort of disciplinary action, and they don't want that. So we get a lot of calls telling us different things that people are doing, and we take care of them. So you don't have to, because we're managing all of the people.
Yeah, so you basically have 7 pairs of eyes and ears looking out for your property for you, versus if you had a normal long-term rental, you really don't know what's going on in your house until you go do a walkthrough or pop by or whatnot, when you actually give them the notice, hey, I'm coming by in 24 hours, I'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah.
That's like the only time you get to really see it in the long-term rental.
And who does that? Because a lot of people don't do that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people that rent homes and they don't want to be intrusive, so they don't show up.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
I mean, for our long-term rentals, it's like we go in every 6 months typically. It's more so just to see if they're planning to renew their lease at the end and stuff like that. But it's also a way for us to take a quick look at the house and see what kind of, way they're holding up the house. And if they're ruining it, we know, okay, we need to get them out by the end of this lease, which actually is a great question now that brings to mind. So how does the eviction process work? How does that look for PadSplit, tenants?
Yeah, so we call them members. They have a membership agreement. So there's no long-term leases or anything like that. It's a midterm rental, so they're staying 31 days up front. We have less than a 3% eviction rate, and that's across all of our markets. And luckily, here in Vegas, we haven't really had that issue. I think there's been 1, maybe 2 evictions at the most. So what happens is, if, let's say, you're being evicted because you're not paying, you have a $200 to $300 threshold that you're able to fall behind. And at that point, we have our team reach out to that person and try to make some sort of arrangements. PadSplit provides a lot of amenities for the people that live in the homes. So if you're an Uber driver and the reason that you're not able to pay is because your car broke down and you need to borrow some money, we have a Zuzu. It's a loan service that you're basically pre-qualified for. It'll give you about 6 weeks worth of rent, but you need to pick up the phone and call them after we pass them off to you. So if the steps that we're taking aren't working, or you're just not communicating, at that point we have another conversation if we can, or we do it in writing and kind of like, hey, here's your situation. You can either pay, make arrangements, or just leave and have the chance to come back to a PadSplit, or we can evict you. Eviction is going to look like this based on what you have going on right now. 9 times out of 10, they'll just leave. Other times, other hosts are like, hey, let's just pay for keys. It's a PadSplit. It's not like a traditional rental. So going over there like, hey, dude, if you just leave by tomorrow, I'll give you $300. It works. Plenty of people have done it. And if it does go to an eviction, we can't do the eviction process for you, but I can pass you off to an eviction partner, someone that's trusted here in, I think it's Vegas Valley Evictions, that I've been telling people that we would go to. And they're great. They'll handhold, they'll do everything, and typically a pretty quick process.
Okay. So Fritzy, you obviously have worked with clients that have PadSplits as well. What's the typical, sentiment from him? Is he absolutely loving this? Do they look more so into wanting to do more PadSplits versus long-term rentals? What have your conversations had with that?
Well, my anchor investor, the one who brought PadSplit here, I mean, his thought process is like, this is a baby. This is like Uber before Uber was Uber. All of those companies that you kind of wish you invested in early on, or that you jumped in and ran with the idea. So he thinks that the more the merrier who come into this space. It's only going to make it better for hosts that are in this area. So for him, this is sky's the limit. He's all in. I mean, at no property of his is losing money. If you think about it, on a single family, you're getting just a flat fee every month. It may fluctuate. You may lose one member or two members, but your house is never empty. So you're always getting at minimum what you would get as a single family property or more. I mean, he's cash flowing extremely well on some of these properties, and even the ones that are not as high are still cash flowing after all expenses. I mean, up to some properties are making $3,000, $3,500 a month. Some are making, on a bad month, let's say if you are down a few members, they're still cash flowing $600 on the positive after all expensive. That's net. So he definitely thinks that jump in, the water's warm. This is the way to go.
Yeah, right now, I mean, for any investor that is used to long-term buy and hold, investments, realistically, right now with interest rates hovering in the 8% range, it's almost impossible to cash flow a standard property if you're buying it with regular invest. I mean, obviously with investor rates, you're much more than 8% too. So,
right.
I mean, it's really difficult to try to find a property that would cash flow. So I love the fact that you just mentioned that though too, that, when you have a vacancy in a single family residence, you're empty for 1, 2, 3 months because you're turning it over. You're trying to find a new renter and you get them in, but you have a few months of you having to cover that full mortgage payment, the electricity, all your utilities basically that go on in that property until you get that new renter in there. So with PadSplit, one person's out, you still have 6 other rooms being rented out. So what's a typical value? How much does a typical room go for in Vegas right now?
About $800, $800 or $900 is a typical room.
Mandy's, I'm so proud of you. Did you just speak in a month rather than a week?
I did.
Because I was saying, I thought PadSplit's paid in weekly, but tell me more about that. How is payments taken care of? What does their first month look like, and what does it go from there? Because I believe it's a full month the first time, right?
Well, it's not a full month up front, and I am trying to change my language because investors, when I'm like, no, it's $212 a week, they're like, what is that in a month? And I'm like, it's another number. But so people are required to stay 31 days up front within the membership. So that doesn't mean they're going to stay 31 days in your particular house. They may move to Fritzy's house because Fritzy's house is closer to where they work and play in the area. So we're a medium-term rental. They pay weekly, biweekly, or even monthly. It's just based on their pay, how they're getting paid. So we try to collect the money before they have the ability to spend it.
Okay, so they don't actually physically sign a 1-month lease for that property. They're signing a 1-month lease with PadSplit to initially go, and then it's a week by week from then on out.
Exactly. Most members, however, are going to stay at your property for about 8 to 9 months on average. That's across all of our markets, but here in Vegas, it's about 10 months of tenure, which I found extremely exciting because we're so new, and just to have 10 months and it stands out versus all of the other markets, it just shows that the hosts here, the ones that believed in this model in the beginning, they did a great job and they put out a great product and they truly care about something more than the returns. And I think it speaks volumes.
Yeah, I mean, and honestly, being an investor, I do love hearing it bi-weekly, realistically, versus the monthly. Everyone's used to that monthly, but if you take 12 months and you times it by 4 weeks in a month, typically, right, you're only getting, 48 weeks? Yeah. But here, we get almost a whole extra month because you get another 4 weeks.
4.3.
At $212 is the average, you said, per week? So someone, yes, they're getting almost an additional month. They're almost getting 13 months worth of $800 versus 12 months at $800.
Exactly.
Realistically, if you go based on weeks, which is really a phenomenal way of selling this to someone else as well. Going back to the multiple rooms, the common area, you said there needs to be the kitchen specifically.
Yes.
What does the host have to have in that kitchen? Do we have to have pots and pans? Do we need to have plates? Do they need to have forks, knives, all that type of utensils? What exactly needs to be in that kitchen?
You don't have to put any of that stuff in there. That's not your responsibility and it's not your job, but you always want to think about the member experience. So like the anchor investor, they put tea kettles in there just in case, someone needs to warm up some water. They're moving in at midnight and they want to eat a cup of noodles. How are they going to do that? So the only thing that we require is a microwave, a stove, and a refrigerator. If you have more than 8 rooms, I want you to double up on a couple things, your fridge and your microwave. But outside of that, that's all that we're going to require of you. But always thinking of the member experience, it would be nice if you put, a $19 cutlery set in there that you don't care about. Don't put your grandma's china in there, but go get me some cheap stuff, make it look pretty so that people have something just to go on, if they just moved here.
Yeah, so I mean, and then obviously if someone uses dishes and they leave them in the sink, I'm sure the other members are going to be the ones complaining about it. And it'll be brought to your attention pretty quickly.
Oh, absolutely. We have rules in a PadSplit. So one of the rules is 0 dishes in the sink. That's why people don't put in stuff like dishwashers, because this is not your family. And it's going to be a nightmare if I cook one small meal for myself and instead of washing it, I throw it in the dishwasher. That makes it so the next person can't use the dishwasher. So we don't typically have dishwashers or things like that just for that reason.
So people actually remove dishwashers out of the
Yeah.
houses. Interesting. Is it just like an empty space, or do they replace it with like a cabinet of some sort, or what does that look like?
It depends. I would say half and half, maybe.
Yeah, some people board it up. Some people,
Put a trash can maybe.
Yeah,
Like, hey,
yeah.
there's a trash can hidden spot right there. That's
exactly.
A hidden trash can.
Yeah.
It's okay.
I like
It's
it.
out of the way, right? That makes sense. Okay. Now that's another question. So trash cans and stuff like that, you probably wouldn't recommend having one in a public spot. They're going to have their own trash in their room, or
Well, you're going to have like a kitchen trash can. You're going to have a bathroom trash can. You don't have to put trash cans in the room because, I mean, you really don't want to encourage people to hoard trash in their room because you don't really know everybody's standard of cleanliness. So I personally wouldn't tell people to keep trash cans in their room and just, kind of funnel them to the outside trash cans so we know they're being taken out. But some hosts do.
okay. And so do you as a host have someone coming through the house weekly, a couple times a week to empty trashes, to do cleaning of the kitchen, any of that type of stuff?
So you should probably have a cleaning person that is your person that you trust as another set of eyes on the property. I would recommend they come through once every 3 weeks.
Okay, so once every 3 weeks.
Only
have someone
cleaning
come through.
common areas. So we're just making sure the kitchen's clean, the bathrooms are clean, and maybe sweep the hallway. You're not going into any of the rooms.
Okay. And then let's bring it into the rooms then right now, right? So what's required to be in each room? Are you furnishing the rooms? Are they like fully furnished? Are they just bare minimum? Are people bringing their own stuff in? What does that look like?
We want to actively discourage people from bringing stuff in because that's how things get damaged. So PadSplit, the requirements are a bed, somewhere for them to put their clothes, a smoke detector, and two modes of egress, so a door and a window. I would recommend you thinking again of the member experience. If people are sharing a bathroom, you would like to encourage them to get dressed in their rooms. So you're going to put a mirror inside of each of the rooms. If the room is the only space that they have, what else do you need in there? A workspace, so they have something outside of a bed that they can sit on. I would recommend putting a TV in each of the rooms. They're like $80 at Best Buy. You mount it. You know the wall's not going to come down and they're not going to destroy everything. And it just helps people stay that much longer. The host is in control of the utilities, and a fan makes a ton of difference sometimes, especially in these super hot months for someone who runs really hot.
Are you saying more of like a ceiling fan or just like a side fan on the side, or?
It depends on what you can do. Like there's some houses where you can't put a ceiling fan at the top. So yeah, go get a standing fan.
Okay. Can anyone become a PadSplit host and be a landlord, or is there certain requirements you have to follow, or you have to get approved somehow? How does that work?
No, you just got to talk to your investor team. Come to us. It's Fritzy and I and Carmen, and we'll help you in any way that you need to be helped. So we'll help you find the asset. We'll train you on how to put out the best asset, introduce you to contractors, introduce you to people to help put together the furniture, and just help you help you with the process across the finish line. So literally anybody with the capital can do this.
Okay, so we would come to Fritzy. Like if I want to find a property, you can actually help me locate a good one specifically for it. Like you tell me right away, hey, no, that probably would not be a good PadSplit based on location or based on the floor plan. What are you looking at to make a PadSplit be a good PadSplit?
Well, with obviously my background in title and escrow, I'm with Equity Title, if I didn't mention that earlier, but I'm able to farm properties. So we look for areas ideally that are not in an HOA. We look for good areas. We farm the areas. Obviously, if you're going direct to seller, then I can get you contact information for how we're going to find you a property and let you know what areas properties are in that are doing well, or areas that have not been focused on yet that we can farm for you and get you contact information. Going direct to seller, I mean, that's the first part, is finding a property.
So mainly direct to seller is better than you're thinking finding something on the MLS?
No, not at all. I mean, I think you just got to find the property, right? So a lot of my investors are more direct to seller, that's just the way that they work. But they also take a lot of properties from the MLS as well. Really, it's just about finding a good property. So on my end, if you want to go direct to seller, I have resources for that for you. But I also have a lot of wholesalers or clients who either wholesale properties to you and assign them, or go based off of the MLS. But the MLS, obviously, there's a lot of, on the real estate end. I'm not an agent, so I wouldn't be your access for the MLS portion, but I would be your access for other options.
I mean, I could be your access for the MLS portion, right?
Yeah.
So if you need someone, you can call me.
We know a guy.
Right? We know a guy. Okay, so would you say it's also important to have it close to like public transportation? Because I can only imagine having 7 to 9 rooms in a house. Where does everyone park those cars?
Well, half our members have cars, the other half don't. So like Fritzy was saying, when you're looking for a property, it's important to identify 3 things. Economic drivers. So who is going to be your member pool? So is there grocery or convenience stores next to you? Because some of these people don't have cars. And then access to public transportation. I should have said 4 things because we definitely don't want to mess with Vegas HOAs out here. But those are the things that you need to look for, because if you have 7 rooms, you should expect 3 to 4 people to have a car. So you want to make sure that there's enough parking for them.
Okay. And does anyone get to use like the garage or anything like that specifically, or how does that play out typically? Have you seen anyone having issues with, hey, we want to park our car in the garage, and why does so-and-so get a park in the garage versus, or they're parking in the garage and someone parks behind me in the driveway and I need them to move their car so I can get out? Like, what is that? Have you ever experienced anything along those lines?
Typically don't have those issues because we're not letting people park in the garage, because logistically it's kind of a nightmare. How are they going to access the garage? What if someone parks behind them? Stuff like that. So when I'm looking at parking, it's like, hey, the driveway can take 2 people, and then there's 1 parking space in front of the house, and then there's, a street parking space. So let's say with all of that, we have 4 parking spaces. Once those 4 parking spaces are taken, nobody else with a car can move in. And they kind of self-assign based on, first come, first serve. So whoever parked in the driveway first, that's probably where they're going to park for as long as they're there.
Now, do potential tenants have access to that info to know, hey, like I have a vehicle, how many other people in this house have vehicles? Am I going to have a difficult time parking? Is that like information they can get from you guys prior to moving in, or is that?
Yeah. So when you go onto our site, you're going to see the house. You're going to see, what are those markers for where the house is, because we don't release the address until about 24 hours. So you'll probably see like, oh, this house is really close to Boulder Station. Cool. And then you go down a little bit further and you can see this house has 7 rooms, 3 of them are available. And then you can see these are your pad mates. This person has a car, this person's a night owl, this person's a this. You get a little bit of info on them, and then you're taken to apply, and it takes about 10 minutes to let you know if you are able to move in or not.
Okay, so no addresses are displayed prior to them actually getting approved to move in.
Exactly. Everything is done sight unseen.
Okay, and so what does the time frame look like for someone that's wanting to move into a PadSplit from the time they make an application? How did they do the application in the first place, I should say?
It's all done online or over the phone with one of our customer service people. So basically, you're just going to input your banking info so we can underwrite you through Stripe, make sure that you are receiving a paycheck. Social security number, we got to make sure you're not on the FBI most wanted list. And from there, Stripe gives you a credit limit, and that credit limit will tell you what you're able to move in at. So let's say I have a house and I have a room that's $200, but Fritzy's only approved for $199. She wouldn't see that $200 room, but she'd see my room for $187. And she'd be able to move in from there. It literally takes like 10 minutes.
Really? Oh, so from the time they start their application, they submit everything, the background checks, everything goes through that quickly?
Absolutely. And you can choose when you move in. So most hosts have it set to where they can't move in like that same day. It's like 24 hours or 48 hours. And most members are moving in within a week from the time that they're approved.
Okay, so if I was a host, do I meet my members ever, or are you guys managing the property basically for me in a way to the point where I don't ever see these people face to face at all? How does that work?
You can be super, super passive with this. You don't ever have to meet a person, shake a hand, or say anything to them. I do have some hosts that are very hands-on, and they go by their property, and they like, hey, I'm the owner, I'm the handyman, I don't know, whoever you want to be at that point, and you make sure everything goes smoothly. So it's really up to you. You don't have to, because we do everything remotely. I just ask that you help them have a smooth move-in experience. So we open up communications. They can call you, you can call them, but after that, it's shut down.
Okay, so they call us on our personal phone, or are they calling through?
No, it's through an app.
Okay, so there's an app that a host downloads and an app that the tenant downloads as well.
Absolutely.
And they can make phone calls, messages. They
can do phone calls just at that time. So for 24 hours, it opens up. when they're about to move in, just in case, like, hey, I'm here. We're in Vegas. It's 1:17 outside and the door code's not working. And the other pad mates know you don't open the door for anybody. That's one of the rules that we have. So they'd have to contact the host. So at that point, they'd be able to call through the app, but your cell phone information is not displayed.
Okay. And after that 24-hour period, the only way they can reach you is by messaging you, or do they message directly to PadSplit directly?
So it's the messages just go to the messages, and if it's a PadSplit, something that we take care of, it's a people issue, then we'll take care of it. If it's oh my gosh, a tree fell and a window broke, the host would need to deploy someone to take care of that.
Got it. So the host should always be monitoring the communication that's in there, but PadSplit's also always monitoring as well. Like,
absolutely.
If you saw a tree, comment saying, hey, the tree broke the window, and the host hasn't, responded in the app, are you going to reach out to the host? Like,
not me personally, but PadSplit, like fair housing stuff. So if a water heater goes out or the air conditioner goes out, if that's not taken care of, like approaching that 24-hour mark, then yes, we give you a call.
okay. So if someone was being lazy and not paying attention, they'll definitely get a notification some other way. So that way they do know, hey, you need to take care of this. What kind of background checks are actually happening?
So we're making sure that up to what the law allows. We're in a bunch of different markets, but here in Vegas, so 7 years for any felony convictions or anything like that. You can't have ever done anything violent and live in a PadSplit. We can't obviously check for like mental health things, but we check to make sure you're not on any lists, registries, or anything like that, and that the job you have is real.
Okay, and has there ever been any issues with anyone in Vegas? Like, have you had any interesting stories about a tenant in Vegas? I'm sure one of you have heard something.
We've had some interesting people who just so I was actually talking to the anchor host person who handles all of his stuff, and I was talking to her yesterday, and she's like, this member, she just thinks we're just best friends or something, and just keeps messaging in the app, and I'm like, well, why don't you just stop messaging back? And she's just like, he just keeps talking to me about everything, like we're best friends. So we have interesting stuff like that, but honestly, you would think Vegas is a lot more wild. We're pretty calm compared to some of the other markets and some of the stuff they had to deal with in the very beginning. But Vegas we're pretty tame, and I'm proud of us.
That's always good to hear. That's always good to hear. Who pays for, obviously, I'm sure you don't have each room on a separate meter, so house has utilities to it. Host is responsible. Tenants don't pay anything on any utilities at all, or?
Correct. We want everything to be all-inclusive. We want the members to pay one bill every single week or month or biweekly, however they're doing it. So the host is paying all of the utilities. You get to say what the air is set on. So typically, houses without solar, the utility bills are between $400 to about $600 a month, and that's including Wi-Fi.
You need to have Wi-Fi in the house.
Yes, you do have to have Wi-Fi. So just Wi-Fi, water, gas, and electricity. I was like, what is the other one?
There's something there.
There's something.
So the fact that you have Wi-Fi in there, are you allowed to, as a host, have security cameras in the common areas, or can you have anything like that?
Absolutely. So I tell my hosts get a Ring doorbell. I sound like I'm sponsored by Ring at this point. But, a doorbell camera that you can have access to. Maybe put one in the common areas. Some people don't like to. They feel like it's very intrusive. But really just the perimeters of the house will catch everything, in my opinion.
Okay, so exterior is perfectly fine. Common area is perfectly fine. Obviously, you're not putting them in bedrooms. I assume there.
I wouldn't recommend it.
Unless you're super creepy.
Yeah, you're like, I want to watch them sleep. No, I'm not trying to do that.
Okay.
This isn't Big Brother.
Yeah, and like you said, the tenants that are in there are obviously going to report if they see someone else bringing another person into the room with them. Along those lines, you'll know pretty quickly. I assume.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
So I'm happy that you asked about the members, because that's one of the things that for me I'm passionate about. So I've volunteered for many organizations locally, and one of the things that I love about PadSplit is there's a housing issue, right? So affordable housing is very difficult in the Valley, and there's a lot of people, even sometimes it's areas. That's something that I've always been passionate about. So when I heard about PadSplit, I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. This is a product that not only helps my core client, which is investors, but it also helps the community. Because people can't get affordable housing, they have affordable housing in PadSplit. They have really nice, respectable space that they can actually live in. They build their credit. I thought that was amazing. So here you are, you're down on your luck. You can't rent an apartment. You don't have the down payment. It's a big initial expense and you can't do it, but PadSplit is an option for you. And it's a respectable option. You can go in, you have your privacy. Typically, these homes are all remodeled. And while you're there, you're your payments are getting reported to TransUnion, Equifax. So you're building credit while you're staying in a PadSplit house. So you can use it as an interim. I mean, I think about it all the time. So many people that can't get into an apartment, can't get into a home, and here they have that opportunity and they build their credit while they're doing it. So I think that that's such a cool part of it, along with a bunch of other things. I mean, they have a lot of tools on the back end for the members, financial options, things that are going to be helpful for them. Mandisa can get into those more specifically, but I think that's really an important piece. It's about the community, it's about the members. So it's not just for the return on investment. If you're doing it right and you're doing it well as a host, you're actually, like Mandisa mentioned, that particular host, then this client's calling her all the time, but that makes the experience nicer for this person. Obviously, that particular
Very annoying.
member is a little attached, but he feels comfortable enough. He's not feeling like he's just staying in it feels homey to him, obviously, if he's that comfortable with the person managing the property.
Of course. And I like how you said it's for affordable housing, right? You hear affordable housing, and a lot of times you instantly think, oh, do I really want, that type of person in my properties?
Exactly.
But this sounds like it's actually an opportunity to not only help our community overall, but also you just mentioned that they're going to build their credit with using PadSplit. Interesting. So they get reported monthly. How does that work?
I believe every payment is reported, and it just calculates once a month. But it's a really cool statistic, actually. Almost half of the PadSplit members who are in PadSplit, by the time they leave a PadSplit, they have a credit score that's built up enough in order to qualify for things like buying their own house or getting into an apartment and doing things they never thought possible, because they're able to save at least $333, I believe, on average every single month.
Wow. That's actually pretty awesome to know that some people don't have any credit, so they couldn't even get into a condo or a house for rent typically, right? And also, do they have to put a down payment or a deposit or anything like that? Not down payment, but deposit specifically, because, to rent a regular house, you need to put, 2 to 3 times whatever the monthly rent is. Mm-hmm. And prove that you have at least 3 times the rent and income in order to, be approved for a rental property. So are people coming in with a deposit? What does that look like?
So we want PadSplit to be accessible to people. And your home is typically better taken care of with PadSplit members than it would be with my family. I have a family, I have 2 small kids, they write on the walls, I'm not going to lie. So in a PadSplit, you don't have these issues and there's all these people reporting. So again, your house is better taken care of. So we just ask that the members pay at least $100 to $150 to move in to your PadSplit. So they'll pay their move-in fee, it's non-refundable, and then on top of that, they'll pay their 1 week or 2 weeks worth of rent.
Awesome. So that non-refundable, that doesn't go to the host, or does that go to the host?
No,
or does
that goes
to
directly
PadSplit?
to the host. So any additional fees go directly to the host. So if it's a late fee that the members are charged, if it's a bad behavior fee that the members are charged, all of that goes directly to the hosts.
Okay. So I'm sure PadSplit has to make money somehow. What kind of what is it? What does that fee look like? Is it really nonprofit? No. I was like, wait, what? I was like, wait, I missed that part before. What's going on here? Okay, so how does PadSplit make money out of all of this? What's their fees look like? Are they charging the host a monthly fee? Are they charging a percentage? What does this look like?
So we charge 15%. So that's 12% to PadSplit and 2.75 to the credit card processor. So it's really 14.75. But I would underwrite it at 15%. And then when you get a little more, you're just a little bit happier.
Yeah, of course, because I'm sure most people are using a credit card of some sort to pay.
Yes.
Are they allowed to pay in cash?
No. So there's no collection of rent like that. They can pay ACH just directly out of their bank account, but our target demographic, they are less trusting than, other people with maybe higher income. So doing something like that and having something on auto pay and not being able to just pay when they feel comfortable is huge for them. And, that actually goes into who our people are. So when you hear the words affordable housing and you automatically sometimes think low income, right? That is not our demographic. Our people are between 36 and 82 years old. They make between $30,000 and $60,000 a year. And they're the people, like your favorite butcher at Albertsons who knows what you get every single time you go in. It's your favorite casino worker, your favorite waitress who remembers your order, the Starbucks barista. those are the people who are living in pad splits, our typical demographic. But then we also have travel nurses. It's still a thing right now. And sometimes they don't want to spend their entire stipend. So they move into a pad split. They're able to save that and, use that savings to whatever they want to do in their future.
That is actually awesome. I love that you clarified that too, because, you instantly always associate, low income with, affordable housing versus, someone that's making $30,000 to $60,000 a year. Like, it is difficult for them to go rent a property by themselves, especially if they are single, right?
Exactly.
And it's just themselves and they want to go rent it. Like, typical rent of a condo out here, just a 1-bedroom, 1-bath condo is, definitely out of reach, definitely a lot more than $212 a week.
Exactly.
Once I buy a property and I say, hey, I want to put this property on PadSplit, do I have to have, the high level of bedrooms, or could I start off with, if I have a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house, can I just say, hey, I'm going to start off there and just see how it goes, and then afterwards decide I want to build some more rooms in that house?
My first host here in Vegas, that's what he did. He bought a house during COVID, so got amazing rates. He had a casita in the back, so that covered his mortgage. And he's like, I'm interested in PadSplit. It's on Airbnb. Let's just try it. So he started with 3 rooms. $237 was the lowest priced room. $275 was the highest priced room. He just added 2 more rooms to that house, and he's brought so many referrals and so many, like his own mom has PadSplits now, and that just shows like the model truly works. So yes, you can absolutely put on a house, any house that you want. I just ask that we take a look at the numbers and we make sure that they work for you, because PadSplit is exciting and it is something that a lot of people want to do right now. But if the numbers don't work, then it just doesn't make sense. So when I take a look at the numbers, I want to make sure that, one, you're able to bring in enough to cover your mortgage, then enough to pay the PadSplit fee, then enough to pay the utilities, and then any variables. So if one room's not rented out, is that going to devastate your finances for the next month? If it is, maybe let's try to find you another exit strategy, and I'm happy to help with that. I'm sure all of us are happy to help find another exit strategy that's going to work better for you.
That is awesome. I'm actually sitting here doing numbers in my head as you're speaking right now. I'm trying to think. I was like, okay, 3 bedrooms, $800 a month. We're looking, $2,400 a month coming in. Okay, that's good. But I can imagine having 6 bedrooms or 7 bedrooms, right? Like, even just 5 bedroom, that's $4,000 a month income.
Exactly.
That's definitely going to cash flow on a standard property out here, realistically.
And we have hosts that are making that $3,500 mark every single month, which to me is insane in this market.
And we're all in real estate, right? So we always think, oh, we're going to buy, sell, whatever. But I mean, looking at people, you get calls all the time, don't you, Mandy? So for people that have existing properties and they're like, hey, I want to turn this in. We're trying to get Mandisa to have 12 new properties a month. That may not happen in this market with a brand new property if we're just purchasing it. So if people have homes and they were Airbnb and maybe they didn't get permitted, so they got to do a different strategy with it, this might be the perfect fit for that.
We all know these Airbnbs are being cracked down on a lot right now, and the regulations are kicking in, and I can only imagine how many of those people are either going to put their property up for sale or potentially, find out about PadSplit, hopefully from this podcast, and it helps them learn about it and make some money off their properties instead of having to sell them. What other things are exciting about PadSplit that you guys want to share?
I think what we do for the members is extremely exciting. So Fritzy brought up the credit score portion. We also have ties to the community. So if someone loses a job, we can recommend them over to somewhere else to potentially find one. Usually the loan service is just phenomenal. And then going back to who our demographic is, like, we all know how expensive healthcare is. Like, even when I'm going to the doctor, sometimes I'm like, oh gosh, if I get 2 prescriptions, I'm going to have to choose maybe. So we give free telehealth to each of the members, and with that comes a discount on prescriptions. So that benefit of the membership alone, to me, just speaks volumes about this company and what they truly want to do for others.
So they get free telehealth, meaning that they're not feeling well, they feel sick, they feel like, hey, I might need antibiotics or something. They just pop up on like a FaceTime of some sort, and doctor will prescribe them right over there. They don't even need to go to the doctor.
Exactly.
How do you set me up for me? What's going on? Like, hello.
I mean, I do have a code. You can become a member if you'd like.
I just don't remember. And then is this available only in, Vegas, Henderson, or is it available, across the U.S.? Is it available also like in our local areas like Pahrump or Boulder City, Laughlin? Tell me a little bit more about that, or do you have any in those locations around here?
So selfishly, I'm going to say it's only in Vegas, but the truth is we are nationwide. You can technically put a PadSplit anywhere. We have PadSplit Core, which is any of our 15 core markets from Atlanta 2 over here, where Phoenix is the newest one. And then there's PadSplit Anywhere. So PadSplit Anywhere is like, hey, I have this house in Utah. I want to PadSplit it. Okay, cool. Let's do it. The difference is you're not going to have local support. You don't have an investor team like us to help you and guide you. You don't have the local relationships that we've built. But outside of that, everything's exactly the same. You have the same support. We help you fill your rooms. You're never going to see a bus stop ad in Utah. Can you put a house in Pahrump? Yeah, let's do it. The anchor investor has one there, to tell the truth. I just thought of it. And it does well. Pahrump's a phenomenal area for PadSplit. It doesn't need 200 houses, but I mean, if you want to put 20 there, it would work, and it would work really well.
That's awesome. So I didn't know you can go everywhere. I knew that it was nationwide. I just wanted to ask the question, but I didn't know that you can go, there's this PadSplit Anywhere. I always thought you had to be in those core locations that they're designed. So someone in an area that's not a PadSplit core spot, they're able to still put their property up onto the website and everything along those lines. They're still going to have access to the app, to all the support system. It's just not going to be someone in town like yourself that could actually come by and sit down with them and take them through the A to Z type of setup.
Exactly. You'll never do a shift with us at Yard House?
Yeah.
That's your normal go-to spot, huh? That's your office?
We have meetings just about anywhere.
Awesome. I mean, so I think we're wrapping it up pretty well here, guys. I do think we went through quite a bit of PadSplits. So I appreciate you guys coming on in. If there's anyone that needs to get some information, how do they reach out to you?
Well, I'm Mandisa, and you could call me, 951-232-7787. Instagram, mandisa.padsplit, I think. And you can also email me, mandisa@padsplit.com. Probably we'll get back to you like a day later, but you can try.
Sounds good. How about you, Fritzy?
Yes. Well, my name is Fritzy Ortiz, and I'm with Equity Title. I also run the Real Estate Investor Forum, so you can reach me on social media on either of those platforms. I'm Fritzy _ @Equity Title, or I also do run Real Estate Investor Forum. My phone number is 702-848-0578, and you can email me at Fritzy, that's F like Frank, RITZI, the letter O, @equitynv like Nevada.com. So we're here to help, and we usually come in a pair or sometimes a threesome, and we just want to be well-rounded. We want people to understand the model, and we want to help you get your goals. So if your goal is to get a property, we're going to help you find that property. Make sure it's successful, because if you have a successful experience, then we have a successful experience.
I love it. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.